Now, I want to start this video by saying I'm not one of those legacy Adesanya haters. At the inception of Adesanya's career, I was actually enthused by him and I was a fan of his, right? I wanted him to do well. He had charisma in him and you could see that given the chance, he would go on to become a superstar. Now, fast forward, Adesanya had a great fight, a great showing against Kelvin Gastelum, where he said the famous words, "I am willing to die in this octagon for this interim belt." And we all say that's our guy, that's him, that's the man we want to root for. And then he went on to fight Robert Whittaker and knocked him out in his home country. And we were like, this dude is the truth. And then he calls out Yoel Romero and we're like, no way, this man is crazy. He's calling out the boogeyman of the middleweight division. That's the guy you should root for. And then fast forward, they had that fight that was arguably the fight of the year. If you are not familiar with the history and catalog of Adesanya, him versus Yoel Romero, the best. Creme de la crop, right up there with Francis versus Derek Lewis. Now, as Adesanya's career progressed, he started bringing in a lot of casuals to the UFC, mainly because of his history and his love for anime and that side of the world. And a lot of casuals wanted to watch him, which meant more viewership for the UFC, good pay-per-view numbers. Still, Adesanya has brought in a decent revenue for the UFC. And I say this because this takes me to the next point, which is the UFC has this weird liking and favoritism for Adesanya, which negates everything that Tyron Woodley stood for. And I say this because he got knocked out, well, finished by Alex Pereira, and he got the immediate rematch in which he had the greatest and grandest moment in his career and arguably in the middleweight division's history, achieving and conquering a dude who has beaten you arguably 4 times and you got that one win. Well, it was actually 3 wins, I think. 2 in kickboxing and 1 in MMA, so that's 3-0. But it was still a great win. It was an absolutely enjoyable win to watch. Even if you hated Adesanya, you had to appreciate that moment for what it did and how much casuals it brought to the sport of MMA. And yes, Adesanya in pure Israel Adesanya fashion went on to milk that moment for weeks and months to come, and he kept on saying, I'm a genius, I'm a marketing genius, I know when I post this you guys engage, and then I don't know, the brands want to sponsor me even more or whatever it is. But he was absolutely milking it, which is hilarious because he is still 3-1 and refused to give Pereira the rubber match because he said you have to go do work, move up to light heavyweight, because he knew how hard it was to beat him that second. Trust me, the way Adesanya celebrated, it was damn, I can't believe I finally knocked this dude out. And then he fought Sean Strickland in Australia, 100 pay-per-views after we saw Ronda Rousey lose to Holly Holmes. How do you say that name? Holly Holmes. Yes, after Ronda Rousey got absolutely beat and finished, and it was a shock. It sent shockwaves around the MMA world at the time, and 100 pay-per-views later, Sean Strickland beats up Adesanya. And Adesanya was offered the immediate rematch by Dana White in the press conference, and us fans were like, no, we do not want to see that. The dude got beaten 5-0. Perfect. He was destroyed. Let him go behind the line. And Dana White listened, I guess, and he gave Dricus du Plessis the next fight, and Dricus du Plessis won a close fight, a fight in which Dana White himself said Sean Strickland arguably probably won that. And then now it seems as though Adesanya is immediately back in front of the line, and I'm just confused by this favoritism that the UFC is showing to Adesanya, because normally if the UFC feels as though you have been beaten, they rarely give you that instant rematch, or they rarely let you sit around, loiter, and then come back and fight for the belt. Adesanya is skipping the line. Sean Strickland should have gotten the immediate rematch against Dricus du Plessis because the fight was so close. It was not as if Dricus TKO'd him or finished him or destroyed him. No, it was a close fight. And now Sean Strickland seems as though he's not getting his rematch against Dricus, and Adesanya is going to get the fight against Dricus, which means Adesanya, who regained his belt and could not defend it, is getting a chance to regain his belt or regain the belt without putting in work. Robert Whittaker is going through a murderous road right now, fighting Paulo Costa and now about to fight Khamzat Chimaev in Saudi Arabia just to get another chance at that belt. The rematch against Adesanya was not instant. Whittaker still had to go out and put in work to get that rematch. The same thing with Max Holloway. To get that third chance against Alex Volkanovski, he went out and he proved that he was the best in the division. But with Adesanya, it's like, nope, you're Adesanya, you get a chance. And I'm just here baffled, like, why?